Hello, and welcome to Fusion Writing, where building character meets creating structure. This is a whole new month of August, and we are ready to get into our new topics for this month. This is our map day, where we get to go into a little more detail. Victoria, what have you got for us with your world building that you teased yesterday?
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of different aspects of story building, but one of the things that often either gets overlooked entirely when you're thinking about your story and the details of it, or something that kind of gets mashed together but not really thoroughly thought through, is world building. And that simply means creating a place where your story is going to happen. So there's primarily two kinds of world building. There's hard worlds and soft worlds. So for this week, we're going to focus on hard worlds. Hard worlds are just what they sound like. It's a very structured, developed, well-designed place where you can drop your characters in. They are world bound by it. And it's also that place that your reader can step into and feel fully transported. So what are some of the features? Number one, a hard world has linear rules and logic. So think of it as a straight line from A to Z. There's no intuitive leaps. There's no fantastical or speculative elements that the reader can fill in, or that those things are acting on the characters. None of that exists. So a hard world is featured by identifiable natural laws that follow logic. One of the purposes for that is it gives your reader a strong world to navigate by. So your reader doesn't have to guess, is something strange going to pop out of the shadows? No, not necessarily, because you've laid out all of those world rules for them so they know what's coming and what to expect. Secondly, the characters are governed by the world. Again, this removes speculation and wild, crazy happenings. Now, it doesn't mean that you still can't have fantastical elements, because you can. But the hallmark is, remember, it's a firm linear world that's governed by its own logic, and that doesn't change. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, you do it to gain the trust of your reader. The reasons we write stories is to satisfy and bring our reader along on a great journey. So by building a good, reliable world, you're telling your reader, I've got you. I've thought this through. I've created it to be thorough and self-contained, and you can trust me to get you through this world without untoward story threads, plot holes, gorillas in the phone booth, which is something that's so crazy that the reader can't get past it. You've left all those things off the table because you've got the world buttoned down. Finally, your characters are world bound. They simply function to be oriented within this space. So let me give you two quick examples of what that might include. One of the first ones that's always nailed down is the government and perhaps the society or the culture. Those are things that are structured and lined out. They don't change, they don't fluctuate. They're there forever and nothing influences them. The cool thing is, though, those things can influence your characters. So if you've done a good job of creating the society or the cultural norms and standards, those things, because of their rigidity, can create drama and conflict for your characters. So an aspect of your world becomes part of the challenge or the thing that your characters interact with. So that can be super cool if you play it right. The second one I'll give you is the climate and the environment. So think of things like the land masses and the geography. Are there any map lovers out there? This is a great opportunity to sketch out those maps so that your readers can actually see the world that they're going into. Every reader that loves fantasy or that loves a good world loves a good map. A second one are things like place names, countries. These are chosen with great care because they have meaning for the story and they help to anchor that reader into that solid world. Places are oriented in time and space, so not only by name and by the nomenclature of the story, but they're oriented firmly in time and space. So again, your characters are tied to the world and your reader feels secure because you've got them all bound up together. Often they have a specific language. Think of Tolkien. The guy invented a jillion languages within his stories. That's part of the fun as the writer, but it's also part of the fun for the reader, and it makes the characters that much more resonant because they're surrounded by all of this design that you've given them in the world. So what do these things do? They create a consistent reality, and they give the reader a fully immersive experience based on that logic and detail that you've taken the time and the care to line out for them. So those are some of the hallmarks of building a hard world that fully binds both the characters and the reader. So next week, we'll talk about the alternative, which is soft worlds. But until then, I'm going to throw it over to Kathleen to talk about character traits.
Whoa, thank you so much, Victoria. That is really interesting. So I hadn't thought about having world traits. I'm so into the world of character traits that you're going to introduce me to a whole new language. I sure appreciate that. Well, we've got a new character trait for this month, and it's the character trait of affability. So we always talk when we talk about our character traits that they have different appearances depending on where they are in the character profile diagram. Well, let's talk a little bit about affability when we're talking about affability in the anchor, because in the anchor position, it's pretty easy to see it operating and taking place as you would expect it to. Affability has to do with being pleasant and approachable. It's our first empathy trait that we've covered in fusion writing, and there's 13 empathy traits. So we're going to be on this empathy traits for more than a year, doing one a month. So this is a big, big change for us. The empathy traits always involve your character and the world, your character and another person, your character and other people, your character are always in relationship, maybe just someone higher authority, someone lower in authority, someone their peers. It's always person and person, or person and people. So that's the whole hallmark of the empathy character traits. Well, affability is the most general in the sense of all of the empathy character traits. It's just, how does your character present himself or herself to the world as a whole? In the anchor position, the character will present themselves as approachable, pleasant. Might range all the way to friendly or to maybe strict and firm, depending on the personality and the role, but the character is not putting up walls against people approaching them. It's not a one-on-one character trait. It's just a face being given to the world. And it is a choice. Now, people with affability in the anchor position don't wake up in the morning and say, now what face will I put on? They're just the way they normally are. They don't think about it too much because they're just solidly in that a pleasant and approachable way that they are. Similarly, in the base position, it's just rock solid for them, very, very similar. If we contrast that to the pinnacle position up here, well, there isn't any thought goes into it either, but there's just no preparation. They're just out there, is there anybody else in the world? I don't know about it. Is there real people in there? I don't know. I'm me. I don't know if there's anybody else out there, but here I am. And it's just no thought about how they come off to the other people around them. It's just up here. It's over their head. It's up in the pinnacle. And what do you get when it's in the chaos position, in the wing position that draws chaos? You might get someone who's just scowly or nose in the air or just stand off. You don't approach me. I'm beyond you. Don't come near me. So it's a push away position. Stand back. And then what do we get if it's in the rudder position? Well, that's a bit unusual. In general, affability doesn't spend much time in the, how should I appear to the world? It's usually how we are. Whether it's just naturally pleasant or naturally snippy or whatever, it's rare that we say, well, how am I going to behave? But there are definitely cases when this takes place. Suppose you have a young mother. Her children are very young, but she's just learned some very bad news. Perhaps her father's in the hospital all of a sudden, the child's grandfather. Well, she's devastated, but she doesn't want to push that off onto her children. She'll tell them the news. Grandpa's sick. We hope he's going to get better. But she'll put on a pleasant face and she'll make that choice to be affable for the sake of her children. That's a case of a choice. Or you might have someone whose job it is to be an authority figure. And there's a problem employee who's been late and late and late. And it's necessary to be stern with this particular employee. Now, this is a character who's just naturally affable, might have to make a choice. Okay, I am going to choose to be very stern because the message has to get across or this person is going to lose their job. So there are moments of choice, but they're not real common. Now, what I want you to really remember when it comes to affability is that it's not so much one-on-one. It's just how you are in general to everyone you meet. A very simple case of like, be very nice to everyone you meet. That is an instruction to be affable. And we will cover other character traits to get much more pointed, much more personal. So what your assignment is going to be for this week with affability is start paying attention to the kind of faces that you see all around yourself in your world. What are they telling you with their affability? Are they projecting a message? You read the message? You catch yourself being a certain way. Notice that. Are you reading a book? How does the author portray affability in his characters? Are you reading a book to your children? How is affability? How does that show up in a children's book? Very often a children's book will be full of the most pleasant affability, the smiling, jolly teddy bear. And then the witch, the evil witch. So you will really get big contrasts in those kids' books. So you'll have another fun reading your children or grandchildren the storybooks when you think about it with respect to affability. Okay, that's all we have for today. Victoria, what can you add?
Well, that was fantastic as usual. And again, I don't know how these things fit together, but they do. Now, you guys aren't privy to this, but Kathleen and I just said earlier today when we were speaking privately that it's funny how it doesn't matter. Character and story structure both have their place in writing, and it takes both to build a great story, but you just don't always know which one you're going to lean on in order to push that story forward. Today is another perfect example of that. Kathleen's asking you to read the message of how people show up around you and what face they show up with. I'm talking about the same thing in world building. Look around your world and start to read the messages of those features and details that anchor you into your reality. Once you start looking around, whether it's at features of the world or features and traits of characters, both of those are going to push your writing ahead because you're bringing those things to the reader, and that helps pull them into the story, which is what we all want. So, Kathleen, if people want to join us, where can they find us?
Come on over to LiLLiPub.org. This is where we gather on the days when you don't see us here in YouTube land. LiLLiPub.org, we have a circle for character traits. We have our all-important fusion writing gathering every Saturday where we get a chance to review each other's writing and give critiques. Now, you don't have to submit writing to join Fusion Writing Group. You can be a fly on the wall. We'd love to have you join us and come on over to LiLLiPub.org. We have an awful lot of fun over there, and we'd love to see you. Well, next week then. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.